Hey everybody, welcome to another World of Tanks replay. This one is after Ren Zero had to leave, so we've still got the two E100s, myself and Serb, but we've now picked up the French army in his bat chat. We've ended up on Prokh, south spawn, and although I normally wouldn't do this in an E100, I decided I'd pretend to be in one of my mediums this match, and I would go down the 6 line. If I recall correctly, my mission for this match was to bounce twice my hit points and deal a certain amount of damage. I think it was 2,000 damage. I can't remember off the top of my head. But in any case, I ended up bouncing quite a lot this match, with about 5,800 potential damage received, or rather damage blocked by armor. Potential damage received would of course be even higher because that includes the amount of damage I absorbed with my hit points. French army, unfortunately for him, just took a massive hit there. Lost a lot of hit points very early on. And it looks like the Arty's after him. Now I am staying behind this line of bushes to try and prevent any scouts up the middle of the map from having an easy time spotting me. Of course, the E100 has horrific camo, especially on the move, so it's not going to help much, but every little bit counts. Normally in a medium tank, I'd be able to crest this ridge in time to shoot anything crossing the north railway crossing in the side. In this case, the E100 doesn't have anything like the speed required, and so I'm not able to get there. Once again, another shot comes in at an angle and pens underneath the rangefinder. That would seem to be a fairly reliable place to hit the E100. Not just the bar on top, but also under the actual rangefinder lens itself. So I'm playing it kind of risky rolling up onto the ridge like that. I have to try and spot my own targets because our light tank isn't spotting for me. And that means I'm exposed to fire quite badly, but thankfully the E100's armor and my relatively unpredictable movement is causing the enemy to scrub most of their shots and just ping them off my armor without doing any damage. Get a nice shot into the back of the E75's turret there. That probably broke his ammo rack. The main ready rack for the E75 is just like that of the King Tiger. It's in the back overhang of the turret. Meanwhile, the enemy have taken position on the hill because I'm taking hits from there. So I've got to try and keep that in mind as our Object 212 blows up the E75. The enemy T92 is going for me, but so far he's yet to actually land a hit. He's just splashing me, not really doing much damage. Hoping for a shot in something side there, but it looks like they've all crossed. The E100 was the last to get over the rails. And now I'm kind of carelessly sitting still in an area where Arty is focused in on, but I was just waiting for something to get lit. In this case, the enemy are actually pushing up the hill, and I can see them thanks to my platoon mates spotting them. I get a nice high roll into the side of the E4's turret there. I was originally aiming for the 50B, of course, but he kept moving, so the E4 was the better option. So now I'm kind of torn between dealing with the enemy in front of me and supporting my platoon mates on the hill. I don't want them to get pushed too hard and collapse because I don't want the enemy to gain control of the entire east side of the map. If you look at the positioning of our Arty, he's very close to the railway crossing, and our M103 is actually camping the railway crossing, which is not surprising given his stats. Meanwhile, the majority of our tank destroyers are camping the southwest corner. They're not even far enough up that they'll be able to spot anything, they're just hiding. Again, not surprising. Forgive the helicopter, by the way. Enemy E100 is actually running the 128mm gun. Unfortunately, he backs up right as I fire. I can't tell if the shot went low into his track skirts or right into his gun mantlet, but in any case it bounced off of him. Probably mostly because he moved. A bit disappointed, but I'll always be able to hit something else, like for instance this JP100. He gets tracked. I assume he hasn't repaired, and sure enough, he has not. So I remove the biggest gun from the enemy team, T92 notwithstanding. And the bounces are coming thick and fast. The 50B is now targeting me from the hilltop, and I'm also getting focused from my front every time I appear on the ridge. Interestingly enough, the enemy have still got our tank destroyers bottled up in the southwest corner. Now there's an E3 spotted there, and there's an IS-4 that was seen there before. I'd guess there'd probably be one more E3 there at least. Oh, sorry, no, both E3s are accounted for. I stand corrected, so the IS-4 and the E3, and perhaps whatever else is hiding behind there, maybe the JT, they're holding up basically half our team. And our light tank is still not spotting adequately for them. So it looks like most of the work's going to have to be done on this flank. And as the E100 is relit, I move up to try and get a shot. Now, he's making it difficult, and of course that was a terrible shot on my part, very badly timed and badly angled. That probably would have just bounced off him even if it had hit, but on 183 it puts in a much better shot and finishes him off with just over 1100 damage. Now the T-49 is scouting the top of the hill, and I bounce. Probably his tracks ate that, I would imagine, but he is very, very lucky. Of course, now because he's moving around at a fair clip and actively evading my fire, I'm not likely to get another chance to hit him, but I do have a chance to hit this E100. French army has finally gone down, and Serb has abandoned the hill. There's not much point staying on it. The enemy have taken it fairly convincingly, and so Serb is trying to get underneath the ramp on the other side if he can, to make it difficult for the enemy to engage him without cresting over the side of it, and also to provide what spotting he can. Unfortunately, the enemy T-92 does finally find its mark, and lands a shell basically right on my head. Serb is then left to try and deal with the T-49. He does have an E-100 to his front left, but he's got buildings between himself and it, so he's not too concerned. And now we can see what the rest of our team is up to. The Fatten is working the central ridge, although it doesn't appear to be doing much with it. The 215B is backing off. Understandably, he's very low health and a very big target. Meanwhile, our TDs and IS-7 have decided to move up a grand total of 1 grid square. Fantastic. So manages to take the enemy E100, but goes down to a shot from the E4, supported by the T-49, and now we have to sit and watch our team desperately try to throw the match. Now, we should have this in the bag. We have numbers, we have artillery, the enemy now don't. We've got hit points, we've got everything we could really need to win this match, but our team is doing everything they can to throw it. Only now have they started pushing the west side of the road. And in the meantime, there is a T-49, an E4, and also a 50B, all unaccounted for on the eastern side of the map, last seen pushing for our cap. There's not much there to defend it. The FV is one-shottable, and the 2 tank destroyers there, they've stopped, and it looks like they're aiming to defend it, but I wouldn't trust them. Particularly once that FV goes down, they're not going to be able to see the T-49 very well. The E3 cleans up RM-103, who is sitting carelessly on the central ridge of the map, and the Wheezy-132 is finally put down by the enemy T-49. However, we do still have a Fatten and an IS-7, both with the majority of their hit points pushing through the enemy cap towards the E3 to finish him off, and that just leaves the AMX, the E4, and the T-49. And the last time they were seen, the AMX was quite low on health, as was the T-49, and the E4 still has just over 1,000, but 1,000 hit points doesn't go very far in a tier 10 match. 50B finishes off the 215. Patton throws away his hit points to the E4. He takes the long way around. What he should have done there is faked the E4 by suddenly swerving to its right and getting behind it, but instead he took the long way around the left and it was able to keep up with him. You have to try and fake these guys out. When they don't have a turret or it only rotates part of the way around, you have to sort of juke from one side or the other to keep them guessing which way you're going to go, and make a sudden snap decision one way or the other as you get close, typically whichever the opposite direction is to what they're currently turning. So if he'd swung right suddenly at the last moment and gone around, even though he's moving uphill, the Fatten's got a decent amount of traction. He should have been able to get around the back of it. But it doesn't matter anyway, because we do actually still have a full health JP and a full health E3. 2 full health E3s, actually. So this really should be a win now. Although we did have it kind of on the ropes for a minute there, it looked a bit dodgy. It's looking much, much better as our team finally begin to sweep in and clean up the remaining enemy. I'm just going to hit the time acceleration here, because honestly I don't have that much left to talk about. Also, it's not really that fun watching these guys try and clean up the last few tanks. Funnily enough, the JP actually takes several shots at the E4, as does the E3, and they all fail to pen. I'm not sure if they were missing or if they were just bouncing there, but in any case it's curious to see an E4 tank that much damage, because usually its armor isn't very effective. On the other scale of armor effectiveness, we have the E100. As I've said before, the E100 doesn't rely on the thickness of its armor so much as it relies on the positioning of its armor. If you keep the E100 moving and keep it rotating, keep its turret turning and its hull traversing, people are going to have difficulty penning it because their shots are going to hit at very, very bad angles. And as you could see me playing in the middle of the map, most of the incoming bounces happened to occur when I was busy turning my turret to engage a different target or when I was moving my tank. And so when you are playing the E100, your sort of two staples of survivability are side scraping from behind a building. Sometimes tank wrecks are viable for it, but usually from buildings. Or what I was doing there, if you're caught in the open, just using your tracks to traverse your hull around and move backwards and forwards and swing the turret about. You don't want to overdo it too much, because obviously you need to still be putting shots on things, but you need to keep them guessing and you need to keep your tank moving. If you sit still for too long, it's going to be too predictable. They're going to figure out where to pen you, and say if I'd sat with my turret pointing dead ahead, the 50B would have just slammed shells through the side of it. Of course, if I kept it pointing at him, I would have copped a shell from the E3. So it's all about just keeping on the move, keeping the armor faces turning, and forcing those bad angles on the enemy. So for a big box on tracks like the E100, although it doesn't have the excellent angles of the IS-7 built into it, with the right play you can kind of make up for it. In many cases the IS-7, because of the way its armor is angled, and particularly the IS-3 it's more noticeable in, if you try and angle it, you're actually shooting yourself in the foot, because trying to angle the tank puts the armor on a much less extreme angle, particularly the pike nose. Whereas with the E100, because it's a box, it's much more predictable, and you know more or less how well angled you're going to be. And so side scraping is very, very viable in the E100 and the Mouse. They're probably the two best tanks in the game for it. Whereas side scraping in an IS-7 is a ticket to return to your garage in a hurry, simply because it just gives people a better angle to pen that frontal pike, and also to put shells into places they normally wouldn't put shells. And of course the other thing you got to bear in mind when you're trying to side scrape in various tanks is your side armor, because you will get overmatched in some tanks. The Pershing and the E5 are notoriously bad at side scraping, because their side armor is so thin that most tanks they face will overmatch them from the front. So if you've ever seen somebody try and side scrape in a Pershing or a Super Pershing and you've hit them with like a tier 9 or 10 gun, it will usually go clean through. Because as far as I'm aware, overmatch is calculated before auto bounce, and therefore there's no auto bounce if you overmatch. If you hit, say, 40mm of armor with an E100's gun, unless it's a heat shell that gets eaten by tracks, it will just punch straight through, regardless of the angle. In fact, you've also got to account for normalization, because heat normally bounces off bad angles, because, it doesn't normalize, and so bad angles will make it bounce, obviously. That's also negated by the overmatch calculation. So if you hit, and you would have seen it in my Object 430 replay on Overlord, if you hit a flat piece of armor that's at an extreme angle, say 50mm thick, or 40mm thick with the E100's gun, even with a heat round, which normally would not fuse on that great of an angle, it will go through, because you've got overmatch. Overmatch does not care what angle you hit at, it will go through. The only way to block Overmatch is if a heat shell gets screened by tracks, for example. Spaced armor pretty much is the only way you'll stop it, but if it just hits the armor plate directly, like it did on my 430, it will just punch straight through. The E100, of course, has such thick armor that pretty much nothing in the game is capable of overmatching it. I don't even think the 183 can. Maybe the T92 could if it hit it with AP. I'm not sure. I haven't ever tried it, and I don't think I've ever been on the receiving end of it. But as a general rule, the E100 is safe from overmatch. Most tanks are not. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. As ever, I'll see you on the next one.